Scrimmage today. Anytime when you're doing a scrimmage, it's inter squad. There's going to be some things that are really good, and you're concerned whether that's one side winning or the other side losing, and that's kind of the way it went today. I thought there was a lot of give and take. I thought the defense started off strong and forced some takeaways, fumble and kind of 2 interceptions, I believe, to start the scrimmage. Offense right around the middle, rebounded, really ran the ball better, and did some really nice things toward the middle of the scrimmage. Had a nice coming off drive for 98 or 99 yards, and then got into game stuff. And we worked red zone before that. And I thought defense in the red zone played really well. Down in the tight score zone inside the 8-yard line, gave up some touchdowns. And so offense probably did a little bit better than the score zone. Then we went and did a 4-minute situation, which the offense was able to run out the clock, and which is something that offensively we needed to improve on. But then defensively, we did a 2-minute into game scenario where really the offense went backwards and it ended on a sack. So some give and take. Just talking offensively, I thought at the top of the red zone at 25 and down to about the 10 wasn't very productive. Had some turnovers. Those were the negatives. The positives offensively, running the football better and able to run out that clock in the 4-minute. That was big. And then executing a long drive. Defensively, got to do a better job of – I think we can continue to do a better job against the run. We're not bad, but I think that's something that we really hang our hat on. I think we'll continue to get better at that. I think the other thing is when we get down there in the goal line area, being able to cover the pass as well. We've got to do a better job doing that. And then like to see get off the field in that 4-minute. Big time improvement this week as far as takeaways, which is fun to see. I thought defensively played with a lot better energy than we did a week ago, and just pleased with how they really started the scrimmage and then how they performed there at the very end as well. So these are some guys I thought stood out. This is always hard because, I'm sitting there watching it on field level. It's hard to keep an eye on all 22, but these are the guys that stood out. Offensively, I thought Letty Brown has had a really nice week. Sparrow had a kickoff return today and then had a couple nice runs, running with the threes. Zach Frazier is a guy that I've been impressed with during our entire camp. And then Zach Dobson, in his first real scrimmage with us, had a nice day today. Defensively, Tyke Smith had an interception, really nice interception. Tay Mayo probably had the play of the scrimmage, really kind of a shoestring interception. Then it one of the early drives offensively. And I thought Tony Fields was really active in his first live football with us. And I thought defensive line wise, we were able to get home more so than we probably have in the last week or so. 2 biggest negatives: we had way too many penalties. We had a full Power 5 crew here, and I thought we had way too many penalties. And the other thing is our special teams just aren't good enough right now. We got to get better. We spend a lot of time. We invest in those. I think that has to be our edge this season is on special teams, and our effort, our concentration, our execution was not good enough. And we did a lot of special teams live work, and we'll come back and we're going to work those a bunch on Tuesday. So disappointed in that. But with that, I'll open it up for questions.
All right. First question here comes from Coach Hunter. Go ahead, Greg.
So, Coach, you mentioned Tony Fields. So obviously he's practicing. So what do you see from him? Is he playing Mike, Will? What do you envision for him?
Yeah, he's playing Mike right now for us. He has the ability to play both. He really runs, and you could tell he loves to play the game. Plays at full speed every snap. Great in pursuit. He's learning our movements, but he's got great energy, and he's physical at the point of contact. So excited about him, what he's going to bring all around to our defense.
Next question here from Chris Anderson. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, Coach. 2 quick questions. On a scale of 1 to 10, how important or how meaningful do you rank the depth chart that was part of that media guide? And second, how much do you enjoy putting together depth charts?
Zero enjoyment. That was our depth chart going into camp. We'll release one when we do our Eastern Kentucky notes. There's probably been some movement without having it right here in front of me. Chris, I would bet there's a lot of it's still the same, but there's going to be obviously some new guys that have jumped in there with how they performed and things like that.
All right, next question from Kevin Kinder. Go ahead, Kevin.
Coach, in one of your previous conferences, you had mentioned about needing to get better pass coverage from your safeties and how that fit in overall defensive scheme. So specifically at the Spear and the Cat, where are you seeing from a couple of guys there? Are people standing out, separating themselves at all?
Well, Spear, Tyke Smith he had a minor injury where he missed a couple days, but he's been back and he's always around the ball. I think technically he can get better, but he's always around the ball, and he's one of the better players of that position in our league. And then Sean Mahone started camp a little bit slow, but he's been extremely solid probably over the last 8 to 10 practices, and he's improving in coverage. We don't put him in there a lot. We got Alonzo Adai playing in the back end there, who's a former corner. So we feel good putting him in those coverage situations. I thought we covered better today. Didn't have a very good day in coverage yesterday, but I thought today really limited the downfield plays.
All right. Go ahead, Nick Dugan.
Hey, Coach, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us. I'm curious to know if there's a certain position group that you feel like has benefited the most since you guys have gotten back going full squad and certainly with these scrimmages as well.
Well, the live work is most important, in my opinion, for the running backs and the linebackers. The O-line and D-line, there's not a ton of difference when you're talking about a tackle situation compared to a thud situation. It's a lot different. And I probably should add safeties in that mix as well. But safeties, linebackers, running backs is extremely different. And I think the running backs have risen to the occasion this week and had a really solid week. We need them to keep growing and keep improving. But that's probably, if I had to say one position group, I would list them.
Next question from Cody Nesper. Go ahead, Cody.
Hey. A guy that's shown up a lot in the camp reports has been Darryl Porter.
Mm-hmm.
I was just wondering what has made him stand out so much to you, and does he have a shot at real playing time this year?
Yes. The last question is yes, he'll definitely play. He'll be in the mix. Couple things I like about him. First of all, his football IQ for a young guy is extremely high. Second thing is he loves to compete. And third thing is he's got great feet, and he keeps himself in really good football position. And he's made plays. He's got the most picks of anybody in our camp so far. So, the guys that are productive are the ones that play, and he's been productive.
Next question from Matthew Thornsberry. Go ahead, Matthew.
Hey, Coach. I was just wondering, where are you guys at with your O-line? And, is there anyone that's standing out at the time to you?
We've got a battle at left tackle there with Brandon Yates and Junior. And it's been kind of give and take. They've, just when we think that one guy's getting ready to take it, the other guy will have a good day and the other one will fall back a little bit. So there's a battle there. Gmitter's solidified there at left guard. Chase has had a really nice camp at center, and Zach Frazier will back him up at that spot. And then at right guard, Mike Brown has been there, and then John Hughes, and then at right tackle, and then Bryson Mays has really kind of been a bright spot in camp. He's played center guard and tackle, and he's a guy that we feel like is going to be able to move around and maybe even break into the lineup.
Next question here from Derek Red. Go ahead, Derek.
Hey, Neal, you had mentioned Tony Fields as a guy on the defensive stance stood out in his first real action. Then you mentioned Zach Dobson on the other side. What is it that's standing out about Zach in that first, live action that he's been able to do for you?
Yeah, this is probably the first time he's shown up and really stood out in any practice situation was today, and caught a couple balls down the field, had a really nice run after the catch. I think he had 4 catches maybe for 90-something yards. So just a productive day. You know, I think he's still got, I mean, in all reality, he's still learning what to do. He hadn't been here that long. But in this situation in the scrimmage, he did stand out.
Next question from Mike Kazaza. Mike, go ahead.
One of these days, I'm going to get that right. Fields gives you some flexibility, a linebacker. He could play one or the other. That helps you get maybe some other guys in the field who aren't stuck as a backup. With new coaches, too, you have some new ideas. How is that all shaken out now with maybe who goes where or who's finding spots that maybe didn't exist before?
Well, we were thin at linebacker, and came in with a lot of linebackers on the roster and through some attrition and some movement, things like that. We got to where we were thin at that Mike and Will position and at Bandit. And so with Tony coming in, it gives us some flexibility. We can play Bartlett back. Bartlett and VD both can get in that Bandit position. That's kind of a hybrid linebacker pass rush position. Tonk is still there at Mike, and Tonk has had a nice camp. One of our more improved players from last season in this camp, Dylan is. And then X-Ray Lowe has played well with Josh Chandler at will. So gives us some depth at those positions and some flexibility, especially when we start going to our nickel and our dime package.
Next question here from Chris Anderson. Go ahead, Chris.
Coach, you mentioned the penalties were a problem today. Coincidentally enough, I had just done some research on that and saw that under the previous regime, the best years actually had an issue with penalties. And then looking at your time at Troy, your 3 10-win seasons were ranked pretty low nationally in penalties. And even last year here at WVU, in the wins, I think it was 15 more yards per game in penalties than in the losses. What do you attribute that to? Like, what would you think?
Yeah, I don't know, Chris. You stumped me on that one because I haven't probably haven't researched that. I'm okay with aggressive penalties. It's the ones that are discipline and concentration focused that really, really hurt you, and the ones that are selfish. I think we had a unsportsmanlike that took us off a 2-minute situation. We were in a 2-minute situation. We had childlike behavior. They throw a 15-yard penalty and it moves back. I'm not okay with that. If we have a defensive lineman on 3rd and long who's amped up on a pass rush and he accidentally jumps off sides and gives them 5 yards, I'm okay with that. I don't want to see it a lot, but I get that. He's trying to jump the snap count to get to the quarterback. And so I think a lot of the penalties just depend. Like today, what I didn't like, we had a bunch of procedure penalties. We had a couple of defensive offsides. We had a couple of delay of games with older quarterbacks, which shouldn't happen. And then like that selfish penalty in the 2-minute situation should never happen. So those are the ones that you don't want to see. We had a couple holding penalties. That's going to happen. So I don't know if that answers your question. I probably didn't know that about our 10-win seasons at Troy, nor about the previous staff here. I probably didn't know that.
Next question from Jared. Go ahead.
Hey, Neal, I'm just curious what you saw from the quarterback position today and if you're any closer to naming a starter.
Yeah, it's so hard on like scrimmage days. That's why I don't talk about them a bunch because they're kind of mixed in there with the 1s and the 2s. And I hadn't even seen the statistics of it. They both did some nice things. They both did some things today that older quarterbacks shouldn't do. As far as making a decision, we'll start having those conversations tomorrow, sometime this week. I think that's fair. I don't know exactly what date, but at some point this week.
Next question from Kevin Kender. Go ahead, Kev.
Going back to your special teams comments, has the different way that you've had to practice some things this year, has that contributed at all to some of the problems that you've seen? Is it just something that you've got to put in more time on, or what are the things you think are contributing there?
Well, so I think the split practices hurt and helped special teams, and they helped in the fact that we got a lot of people evaluated to see if they can do it. They helped in the fact that we know what to do. They hurt because we didn't really have full speed reps because we didn't necessarily have enough depth in those split squad to get a great scout team look. And so really since last Friday is on for instance, on our punt team, we didn't have a great really rush look until Friday, a week ago Friday. And so now we practice Friday, Saturday, 5, I think this is like the 8th practice we've had or maybe 7th, if I'm counting wrong, where we've actually had a true rush team, somebody that can block the punt. And so we are a little bit behind, as far as just those full speed reactions and things. We're careful on kickoff and kickoff return. And because those are high energy plays, high contact plays. So you just got to do it. We got to get better at it. I think some guys got exposed today for not being ready to go and, on our special teams unit, and we'll get it corrected. We got time.
We'll take these 4 more questions here. Go ahead, Sean Manning.
On the 5-part social media post this year, this week, what was that your idea, and just kind of what was the thought process in wanting to do something like that?
I think our creative department, which Grant's on here part of, and our communication staff, everybody, Mike and those guys, and Austin Gaines and Caleb Saunders here within football, I think they do a tremendous job. Austin was with me that entire day. I don't remember exactly whose idea it was, but I think it's good to give our fan base some insight about what goes on. And we're in unique times. Not allowed to have outside people at practices, and media can't come and watch like you normally would. And so just trying to give fan base some behind the scenes look at how we're operating.
Next question from Cody Nesper. Go ahead, Cody.
You mentioned Vandarius playing at Bandit. Is this really the first time that you've gotten, since he was injured last year and he was suspended the first 4 games, is this the first time you're really able to get a good look at him prior to the season to know what kind of role he can play?
He practiced last year while he was suspended. Then he played in those 2 games. So we got a pretty good look at him then, but this has been the longest period he's had to run with the 1s and the 2s and get really good. He's been in both scrimmages. And so, yeah, that's probably fair, Cody, that this is the longest look we've had at him.
All right, go ahead, Jim Workman.
Hey, Coach, just wanted to check with you. Last time I looked, we still have a college football game on TV tonight. I know there's scheduled games this week. There was news about the Big Ten possibly moving back up and playing at least, late fall. What's your impressions of college football, and does the outlook look a whole lot better now?
I think it's to be determined. I think that this stuff has changed. We've been all over the map here the last 6 months. I know this. I've been picking my daughters up on Thursday at softball, and there's little league football practice going on. I'm fired up about that. Turned on last night, watched 2 buddies of mine coach down in Alabama, Spanish Fort. Was playing St. Paul's. 2 guys run those programs that I really like and respect. And I was fired up to watch some high school football last night. And then tonight, I think Austin Peay and Central Arkansas are going to kick off college football. So I'm glad that guys get to do what they love to do, which is compete. Coach staff gets to coach, and we can do it in a safe environment. I believe that's the case. I've said that all along. As far as what the Big Ten is going to do, I really haven't paid much attention to it, honestly. I really haven't. Locked in on what we got to do, and what we got to do is I showed y'all at the first press conference we had in this season is we got to stay well. We took, I don't know however many tests we took on Wednesday, players and staff. We had 0 positives. And so we got to stay well, and then we got to continue to get ready to play on September 12th and then turn around and start conference play on the 26th.
All right, we'll take the last question from Coach from Mike Kazaza, and then we'll have defensive lineman Darius Stills and wide receiver TJ Simmons. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, just to Neal, looking around the country, it seems like it's waiver season. You've been waiting on some. I don't know if you have any news there. And also, you have special teams, it sounds like, at the top of your list. That's probably normal for every first game. But given how weird this offseason is, do you change the the gear you shipped into right now much differently than where you would be in a normal season?
Probably going to wait a little bit longer, Mike. Honestly, as far as shifting into opponent prep, we're gonna stay in camp mode until at least Tuesday. Maybe still go against each other more so than we normally would leading into a first game, just because I think we need the situational work. We need the full speed work. Now we'll be smart. We're not gonna beat each other up in practice, but probably still going good on good a little bit longer than we normally would due to the circumstances. And I don't have any news on waivers. We will definitely share that when we get those, though.